All right, we're going to call this Finance Committee meeting to order on April the 20th, 2020 at 5:45 p.m. Present are council members Lang, Harris, Bub, Blake, and Marmee. First item on the agenda is a request for legislation, a request consenting to an enterprise zone abatement agreement between the Board of County Commissioners of Licking County, Ohio, and Packaging Corporation of America, and authorizing the Director of Public Service to execute such agreement on behalf of the city of Newark, Ohio, and declaring an emergency. I don't know if Mark was able to get on.
Doug, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. Can all the other committee members hear as well?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Well, this legislation will allow the city of Newark's enterprise zone to be enterprise zone agreement, which actually takes place between the Licking County Commissioners and Packaging Corporation of America. And if you were able to read my email that I sent out to give you a description of this, a little more detail, again, it requires an act of Newark City Council for this legislation to move forward in order for that enterprise zone agreement to be done between the county and PCA. And with that, if you have any questions.
I'll offer a motion.
Second by Lang.
Motion by Bub, second by Lang. Any questions and or discussion? Jonathan?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mark, can you help me understand what sort of recourse we have? I mean, obviously it's a great opportunity. Kudos to the administration for bringing it forward. I'm excited. I just want to understand a little bit better. I don't know if we need Director Sasson to speak up, but want to understand, since the agreements between the county and the applicant, what sort of recourse do we have if they're not pulling their weight, if they're not fulfilling their end of the bargain? How are we entirely reliant on the county commissioners to enforce this agreement, or how does that work? What's the mechanism there?
Sure, that's a good question. Annually, there is a gathering that's put together by the county, and it's to do an evaluation and a review of all the agreements. And if one of the participants in the agreement, in this case it'd be PCA, was not living up to all the terms of the agreement, if you read it through, there are some benchmarks for level of employment in that agreement. And if any of those terms are not met, then that could be cause for termination. So the city does have leverage, Jonathan, to oversee that contract to make sure that the terms are met.
That's helpful. Did we actually get the contract itself? I think all I have was the resolution describing it. If not, if you could circulate that, that'd be helpful.
Jonathan, within the resolution, for example, if you look at it down under paragraph the fourth paragraph of it, for whereas, it talks about adding an additional 8 to 10 new full-time employees. And it also gives payroll numbers on that. And it also gives investment numbers for the project between about 88 million to 170 million. And that's quite a range, but that's because that's real property and also personal property that could be included in that as well. So there's two good examples of some of the terms that we would be looking for in an annual review for benchmarks to make sure that they were hitting those in order to qualify, to continue to qualify for tax abatement.
Yeah, that's helpful. If I could, though, get a copy of the actual agreement, just like
Jonathan, if I can add, there actually isn't an agreement right now. There's a proposed agreement, which is The language is kind of strange in how this process works, and there's an element of cart before the horse to it.
Okay.
But it's a proposed agreement, which is actually an application. The actual agreement will be negotiated between the property owner and the county commissioners, but it will be under the parameters set forth in the whereas provisions of this legislation. 10 years, 75%, with certain benchmarks like Mike talked about. Those are all the things that we're agreeing to as a city, and those will be the parameters around which the county commissioners will negotiate the final agreement. So that's why there's an element of cart before the horse here.
Okay, thanks for clarifying. That helps.
Mr. Chair,
Yes, Mr. Blake.
Director Martyr, can you explain, because I understand that, can you explain why there's 10 years instead of a 15-year?
Well, we can do it 10 years, 75%. I'm sorry. We can do it 10 years, 75% without school board approval. And that's what PC has asked for.
Okay, so anything over 10 years, we'd have to get the school board to vote on it.
Correct.
I see. Okay.
Both the Newark City Schools and CTEC would have to if we go higher.
Correct.
Any other questions or discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion passes 5-0. Thank you. Next item on the agenda is a request for appropriation in the amount of $23,125.
This is Steve Baum.
Yes.
This is money from the sale of a used fire truck that Newark Fire sold. They bought a separate used fire truck from Thornville. This money is going back into their account to use to upgrade said fire truck that they've purchased. They need headsets. They'll have to put Newark stickers on it. It'll need new tires, etc. So this is money for them to put back into their account to make use of on the new fire engine.
Okay.
I'll offer a motion.
Motion by Bub,
Second by Lang.
second by Lang. Any questions and or discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion passes 5-0.
Thank you.
Thank you. And with that, the Finance Committee meeting stands adjourned. I believe service is up next, correct?
Yes, correct. Jeff Rath, you're still muted.
Meeting to order. Those present are myself, Rath, Harris, Barker, Blake, and Bub. First order on the agenda, first item on the agenda is consider resolution number 20-25. A resolution authorizing and directing the Director of Public Service for the City of Newark, Ohio to enter into a lease purchase agreement with Park National Bank for the lease purchase of 2 police cruisers for the Division of Police. I believe Mr. Rhodes, who I don't see in attendance. Is anybody here to speak about that?
I am. Can you hear me, Jeff?
Is that Mr. Rhodes?
It is. Can you hear me?
I can't hear you. Yes.
Jeff, this is something we talked about in finance with Councilman Marmee leading the finance committee. We want to enter into a lease agreement with Park National Bank to lease 2 police cruisers on a lease option purchase.
Mr. Chairman, I'll offer a motion.
I'll second that.
Hey, guys.
David.
All right. I got more hair.
You guys hear me okay?
Yeah, you were locked up there for a minute.
Are we? You good? Then,
Jeff Rath, you keep cutting in and out.
All right, I was kicked out.
Jeff, you got anything?
I'm back and now I can hear you. So I apologize. I missed, I heard the beginning of your explanation saying that you talked with Finance Committee. If you could start from there. Mr. Rhodes.
Yeah, again, we're just looking to enter into a lease purchase agreement for 2 police cruisers with Park National Bank. Standard lease agreement that we normally do, it'd be a 4-year term.
Okay. Any questions from the committee?
Mr. Chairman, again, I will offer a motion.
And I'll second Ryan's motion.
Okay, we have a first by Ryan Bob, a second by Spencer Parker. Do we see any other questions? See no questions. All those in favor signal by saying aye, thumbs up. Okay. All opposed, same sign. And that'll pass 5-0.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, sir. Up next will be consider resolution number 20-28. The following is a resolution enacted by the City of Newark, Licking County, Ohio, hereinafter referred to as the Local Public Agency, LPA, in a matter of this stated described project. Emergency replacement of the inlet apron and cutoff wall on SFN 4501233. This work will be performed as part of PID 113225, LIC-SR16-23.68. Somebody please tell me what I just read.
I'll speak to that. Well, that's a lot of ODOT jargon for referring to the culvert that's underneath State Route 16 over just a little bit west of Dayton Road. It's actually just west of the Wendy's store there. And with the last heavy rains that we had on March 19th and 20th, there was some damage to the inlet apron on the north side of the culvert, and that needs to be repaired. And we would like to cooperate with ODOT to get that done. All work that's in the right of way of State Route 16 would be done at ODOT's cost. And then there's some additional work that would have to occur north of there. That would be the city's cost. And we would, of course, use our stormwater utility funds to do that. So what we're trying to do is to repair that inlet so that we don't have a situation as the folks down in Heath had with the culvert going under State Route 79. So if there's any questions, I'll be glad to answer them. And you'll notice that it does have emergency clause at the end of the legislation to get that passed as soon as possible. ODOT wishes to put this out as a emergency bid, and they want to move forward as quickly as possible on it.
Brian, do you have an estimate on the cost to the city?
No, not yet. We actually just saw the first blush of the plans today. I don't know what our share of the cost would be at this point. We're still working through all that.
All right. And when do you anticipate work being started on this and duration of work?
Well, I think they were hoping to get the project out to bid in early May, and then be able to have the work occurring in June, something like that.
And then duration? Is this a
I
one-time project?
don't know how long it'll take.
Project? Okay. All right, any other questions from the committee members?
I'll offer a motion.
We have a motion by Bub,
Second.
second by Harris. Do we have any questions from anybody down in the committee? Any further questions? Seeing no questions, all those in favor of passing this on to council signify by saying aye and thumbs up. All opposed, same sign. That motion will pass 5-0.
Thank you all.
Thank you, Brian. And that concludes service committee. And we will stand adjourned and see you all at the council meeting starting at 7 p.m.